if you don't have a system that you're like absolutely slogging yourself to death for 12 months to close something.
Those tools are not exclusive to one or the other. Every one of your competitors can fish in the same pond.
While I was on leave, 22 individuals reached out to me on LinkedIn just to sell at me. None of them were personalised. It was absolute noise.
Was there much difference between what they were telling you and then what you witnessed out in the field?
There's definitely a discrepancy. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars implementing a CRM, and they thought that the CRM was going to deliver the process and the system, but it's not. It's just a place of record.
All right, we've covered a lot in this mini-series, guys. Let's wrap it up, bring everyone home, and let's actually talk about our acquisition system, yeah? Hit us off, Louis.
Hold on. Before we do, can I just say it's nice to have you back in the same room so we're not shitting on each other?
Oh, I know. I was running last week listening to one of the episodes and listening to you guys pay me out. Like,
Yeah, well, we did have a bit of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
good.
It was. But
tried to fast forward a bit because we're still bagging.
After 30 seconds, still giving it to him. 30 seckons skip, still giving him shit.
15 minutes in. But guys, it's nice to finally be back in this room together.
It is. And like, what do you say? Like, Lou, you were on the road actually doing face-to-face sales, not beyond a screen, right?
Yeah.
So we can even talk a little bit about that. Like, what is called as a ride-along, which many people probably won't even know what the hell that is in the world of sales. But like, that's part of the sales process too sometimes.
Yeah, understanding your customers. And I think that comes back to, if we think about the complete client acquisition process and what we've covered in this mini-series, we can actually wrap this up in what we're doing in Coach Pilot, right? So I think we've spent 3-4 months really taking some time to understand our customers. So we talk about ideal customer profile. It's not about coming up with really nice page in your playbook and it looks good. It's about really understanding what's happening in their world.
Yeah.
And we've been going deep dive with actual clients within our ICP, seeing how they behave in field to really understand their workflows, because that can help us determine our messaging, what their key problems are, what the outcomes they're trying to achieve. So we're going really deep in market to understand our ICP.
Can I ask you a question? So with this particular customer, right?
Yep.
We won't name them, but from your meetings that you had with them, like behind the screen and whatnot, about their current situation, was there much difference between what they were telling you and then what you witnessed out in the field?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a discrepancy. I think, and that's why I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to go on the road and see firsthand, because often, leaders of a business can look at a CRM or look at the system and will make some interpretations and make some, decisions based on what the system's telling them. Yeah. But the system is being, people are putting information into that system. And sometimes you just need to take the time to go and have a look at what information they're putting in. Why are they putting in that information? What are they actually capturing? And for me, this has been, I've had so many aha moments, and you're on the receiving end because I'm saying, hey, our product needs to do A, our product needs to do B. This is very different to tech. This is very different to professional services. Hence why I think we are hearing AI is changing tech, the tech apocalypse, everything's changing, etc. I think those that will win are the ones that are becoming completely relentless in understanding their customers and understanding what's happening in their world. And I'm proud that we are building very clear ideal customer profiles, and we have a really unique understanding of what's happening in their world, because now we can really position our product to meet their needs.
And this is where we go from, like, say, the ICP to the product. There is this huge bit in the middle that, like, we'll talk about now, is essentially how to make it a system, right? Like, yes, if you know your ICP, your ideal client profile, who your customer is, like, inside and out, know the buyers, know the emotional drivers behind them, know exactly what problem you're trying to solve for each, which was one of the episodes that you and I covered. It's then, well, how do you make that thing just not an ad hoc performance, or not just, if you build it, they will come. It is the actual system that is repeatable, that is efficient, that helps solve client problems, but also gets you from A, like understanding the client, to B, revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the big learning, right? So our acquisition system that we're building at Coach Pilot, already I'm very proud of what we're producing, because we are really thinking about, we're not looking at the total addressable market. We're taking our ICP and going, what's the serviceable, obtainable market? And who are those companies within that space that we can serve, we can help? There's clear product market fit. So the problem resonates highly, because then we can create faster sales velocity, right? And also we can be focused on only serving the people that matter. And we've had multiple conversations about this. And this is, we are building our own infrastructure and playbooks around serving that ICP. And I think that itself, so many companies miss that, right? We're seeing it. We audit companies, we go in there and they're trying to serve such a wide audience, hence why they're struggling with messaging, right?
And then also, it fills the top, right? And we've gone through this many a times with many a different cohorts of people that we've trained together, is what is a healthy pipeline. And if you get your ICP wrong, that top of funnel is just so, I guess, drowned in noise. And then, like, going back to one of the conversations you and I had about qualification, then it kind of like gets really skinny, like heavy at the top, skinny at the bottom. And
that's what if we go back to Simone's episode, and what really enabled Simone to be so successful was she just became very clear on who she was serving. And then everything else was a waterfall off the back of that. And so I think the client acquisition system, this mini-series, is so good because we've gone through key aspects. But if we're going to wrap it up, it's to say, get clear on the ICP, but don't just do it once and forget. Don't just say, hey, I've got a really good picture, because their world changes, right? I think that's really important in understanding the changes that are happening in their world, AKA triggers. We need to talk about that because, again, for inbound or outbound, those triggers are essential. In a world of the triggers from an inbound perspective, something's happening in a client's business for them to look for what we sell. It's important to understand what those triggers are. And outreach, even more important, right? Because otherwise our outreach is not going to be relevant. It's not going to make sense. And we're just going to be more noise. And it's becoming a very noisy marketplace.
And it's a huge problem. Like, I think I spoke about this today on our training call, is that, like, while I was on leave, 22 individuals reached out to me on LinkedIn just to sell at me. None of them were personalized. It was absolute noise. They only did one channel. You could see that they were rushing things. I got contacted by 2 people of the same company, one through connection and then message. His was great.
Yeah.
And then his colleague did it through InMail as a blast. I actually went back to the first guy.
Same company.
Same company. And so I actually said, hey, your colleague sent me this. I think he needs to come join Growth Forum. There's better ways to actually, do personalization, because messaging. So out of those 22, I'm actually coaching 5 of them at the moment to do better messaging.
Perfect.
Because I was just like,
get them in Sales OS.
Yeah, that's right. So it needs to be, like, I completely agree. There was no trigger for any of them apart from one, and that was the only one that I responded to, like, properly. Where the others, I was just like, no thanks, go away, ignore.
Well, that probably comes down to, having your system documented well, and actually in a way that enables everyone to sell in the same way, like 100%. As that good rep that had the context, had the personalization. 1 out of, was it 3 or 4?
Yeah, 22.
22, right? Yeah. That's had that approach. So how can you sell at your best?
Yeah.
I guess, like, what have you guys seen from a good example of having this documented within a company looks like?
Pardon the interruption. I'm Luigi, one of the co-hosts here at Revenue Leaders. You'll notice we don't run sponsors or ads on Revenue Leaders.
This show is free. Our goal is to help you grow revenue and build your sales system that you can rely on. We do have a favour to ask though.
If this episode gives you one clear idea that you can use, do these 2 things. First, share it with one person, a founder, a revenue leader, or a rep who wants to grow their business. Just one. That's how the show grows.
Second, grab free access to our vault over at coachpilot.com/vault. Inside, you'll get the frameworks, templates, and short courses we use with clients to help them scale pipeline and increase win rates.
So the deal is simple. If you get value, share the episode with one person and go to coachpilot.com/vault to get the tools to put this into action. All right, let's get back to it.
Well, we look at ours, right? Let's take ours. We've got a playbook for each of our ICPs from a top of funnel perspective because they're very different, right? The motions are different from the companies that we're talking to. Then we've got our meeting to close playbook, and we haven't finished our retention playbook. That's the next one. But having that documented, making sure we have we clearly understand the buyers we serve, the objections that might come up, like that is critical because we need to understand all of that in order to build a system around it. It's funny, right? Because one of the clients we're working with now, Dave, we're going in there to help them post CRM implementation. So they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars implementing a CRM, and they thought that the CRM was going to deliver the process and the system, but it's not. It's just a place of record. It's not how they work. It's not how they engage with their customers. It's not what do we do when customer gets here and goes to here. They didn't document all of that early. And the CRM vendor or the partner, they didn't do that. In most cases, they don't. Right?
No, that's right. You just sign up for it and away you go, and it's left in your hands.
So hence the inconsistencies from a sales performance is a result of not having it documented, not having clear call cycles, account management plans, etc. So we have to build that and then embed that into the CRM, aka Coach Pilot. Right? So that's a gap for many businesses. They think I buy a CRM, I'll start talking to my customers, everything will work. That's not how it operates. Hence why the documentation should occur first. Really think about the buyer's journey. Think about your sales journey. They need to go hand in hand, right? Because it's actually a fundamental step in ensuring you're going to get consistency. It's okay if you're founder-led, but when you're not founder-led and you're trying to get a team and you're trying to, get your motion across multiple markets, it's even more important you get that playbook. And you get that playbook right.
More complexity comes into it, right?
100%.
More headcounts, the more potential for crossover. You look at it with that provider that reached out to you, Regan. I'd argue that there's probably minimal visibility as to who's working on what account. If you got 10 people reaching out to you with a different message, that shows a lack of sort of compliance and who owns the customer, the target they're going out to, right?
It's interesting. I was looking at this the other day about like systems.
Yeah.
The thing that also to just build on what you were saying, practice.
Yeah,
because the thing is, it's one thing to be like, I'm going to have an ICP, I'm going to have the infrastructure to do it. There needs to be this like layer over the top of that as the system builds, make sure those practice points are there to be able to apply it. So yes, go out and sell. Like, what's your follow-up? Like, we still, things drop off in a sales process where we need to be able to maneuver to get them back re-engaged in it, in a conversation, because us being a priority drops because internal priorities will shift for those buyers. And I guess to that is like, you need to be able to have those moments in time where don't just do one thing because it says to do it. Like, you need to be able to make sure that best practice is there to be able to keep it going. And then with that, sellers, if we look at it's only about 57% of sellers that are actually compliant to the sales process as well. So how do you, if you're building this system for an organization, you also need to think that system and the practice there needs to be able to be, I guess, strong enough to make your sellers compliant in what you believe is best practice.
Yeah, look, I love that. And, I was in the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, someone listen to this. They're either going to be like chomping at it, loving it.
Or super offended.
Or maybe offended. Or thinking, systems, it's so boring, right? Because it's not the fun, glamorous part of, growing a business or working in that sort of revenue role. But it's probably the most critical. Like you mentioned, Louis, like when you're founder-led, it's, when I say it's easier, because there's less system, because it's just the founder and one or two just going at it, grinding through, persistence, doing what it takes. But then when you hit that, 5, 10, 15 mil plus and beyond, you actually need the system in order to grow. And if you don't, that's where shit breaks.
Can I offer as well a different perspective to that, is that systems sound boring, but if you don't have a system that you're like absolutely slogging yourself to death for like 12 months to close something, or you have a way that can actually get you more fish like quicker. What's more fun? I think it's the second, to be honest.
You know, and there's a very simple, I love the fishing, like, you know, sales fishing, a very simple analogy.
Any sport analogy for me, mate.
So if you're a tech startup, doesn't matter what, like you're using, say, a data enrichment tool, aka Firmable or Lusha, right? So you're using a tool, you're getting contact data, but so is your competitor, right? Those tools are not exclusive to one or the other. Every one of your competitors can fish in the same pond, yeah? So they all have the ability to go into that pond and try to find customers. So you're competing with the same, with other fishing rods. But and this is the difference between those who are successful in getting them faster, right, and getting more than your competitor, is they're very clear who they serve, how they serve them, and the process in which they can capture them. And they do that at rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah. This is what Georgia spoke about as well.
It's super important, because we see this. We just audited a business. They're successful. They've raised capital. They're not pre-seed. They're probably, I think they're Series B going on to Series C. Yet the inconsistencies from a sales team and their now ability to go to the next level is hindered because they've got no system, right? They're not measuring key stages of the sales process. They're not looking at trying to diagnose what's stopping deals going from, you know, call to discovery. Why aren't we getting that? Churn is out of control. Why? Because they haven't got a proper qualification process. And they're just pushing deals to a point of decision because sales get rewarded for it. Hence, the other gap is their reward and recognition program not aligned to what they're trying to achieve as a business.
And then just think for that revenue perspective, like the slippage there would be unreal.
Massive, right? So then hence why the system's so important. So, you know, if we were to summarize this for anyone listening, whether you're a seller or you're a revenue leader, some key things here: define who you target, map that out, understand the process it takes from going from point of conversation to point of decision and beyond. And then once you've built that all out, pressure test it, make sure it works, and then systemize it. And then what you have to then do is you're moving into the next layer of maturity from a GTM perspective, which you're then refining, right? That's then driving your coaching component in your business. And then you're able to get real optimization across your sales process.
Yeah, and automation as well. You can essentially
automate, right? So if we look at what we're doing with one of your team members at the moment, but we went from, you know, the thought of using a sequencing tool, 49% open rate, 5 years ago would have been something that the firm would probably never have thought about, right?
No, of course not.
But we're at that point because we've been able to build all the infrastructure, very clear on ICP, personas, triggers,
and it's been
49% open
an
rate.
Absolute beast to get there because of the type of organization you are. So, you know, if you're looking at sales transformation, you really need to be able to own that space to build it out, to be able to push it out to the market. So for professional services, I'd probably say it will be a bit longer journey, but for your B2B, huge opportunity to scale and then end up, you know, overtaking competitors.
And we never do this, right? To wrap up this mini series, that's what Coach Pilot's there for. Not for Dave, for Regan and Luigi, because we are the true sales experts.
There you have it.